Good morning, welcome to our live talk program. This is Lloyd Grubb here, your host on Revive Reform Radio, doing our live talk program covering on current events on this year, Thursday morning, rise and shine and give God the glory. And this morning here, I'm looking at a topic, why would any poor country think America will help them? Why will any poor country think America will help them? So this is what we're looking at here this morning as we do our live talk program covering current events. So welcome, top of the morning to you. Hopefully you had a blessed night rest. You're ready to take on the challenges and the blessings of this day. Let us pray. Our Father, who art in heaven, I thank you again for the blessings of your word and for the guidance that you continue to pour in our lives and make us understand, dear Lord, things that are of great magnitude and great importance. I pray, dear Lord, that you may be with us as we look into these things and may you guide my mind and those listening, heart and mind. This is my prayer in Jesus' name. Amen. So good morning again, and as we do our live talk program, I'm covering why would any poor country think America will help them. And so we're looking at some of the things that are going on in the news. I'm going to particularly focus on one, but even as I thought about doing this from yesterday, I was perusing the news this morning, and there was this issue with the breakdown in the negotiation between President Donald Trump and Kim Jong-un, the leader of North Korea, and they came to an abrupt end, and they stopped the discussion and said the sanction will be in place. So this is a very strange and very interesting thing that are going on, which is this continued, various different countries continue to negotiate for some better, because I guess the idea was President Trump says the the sanctions will still be in place for North Korea, which, as you know, they're grinding sanctions, they're very harsh sanctions against the North Korean poor people. And so those sanctions will be in place against the poor people, and the unless the negotiation goes forward where they can denuclearize North Korea. So if you're familiar with this line of reasoning, it is a historical narrative that has been run. It's a playbook that has been run over and over again. First, the country disarmed so that they're not on the sanctions anymore, and then they're attacked and destroyed. But the aim here is, if you think about it, right, if you go online after I finish, or if you have access to a computer, go online and take a look at the president or the leader of North Korea, and you really find that he's very plump, or probably plump is being too nice. Here is fat. And so the sanctions ain't hitting him. Obviously, sanctions in North Korea hitting poor people. That's who the sanctions are against. So that's why. So let's just say it up front. That's why, from a moral standpoint point of view, countries are secular. They do their secular thing. These countries are beasts. The Bible described them as they're lost. But it's just the idea that when you put sanctions, the people who are going to starve is obvious. If you just look at the picture of the North Korean leader, you find very fast that the sanctions are hurting him. He's well fed. So so this is what's happening. So why would any poor country, and as I say, when you think about a poor country, it's not always true. The sanctions never hit the rich, and if it hits them, it kind of put a sanction on them so they can't probably get a $20 million yacht. It more give them a $5 million yacht. That's all it's going to do. Well, it's not stopping them from eating. They have ways and means to continue eating. They can fly other places. They can move around still. So that's why I say here, why would any poor country in their right mind, anyone in their right mind, think that America is going to help them? Or the poor in the country. It's beyond me. But this has been the history. So I want to talk about that this morning here. I want to share some things with you that I find is profound, but I find it is true to the statement when you read the book of Revelation. Revelation describes America as a false prophet, and I think that's the answer to the question. So I'll give it to you up front. Hopefully you can bear that. So when you have somebody telling falsehood, it seems like it's true. And because of the falsehood, people would believe that America is here to help, although there's not one single country on the planet that has ever been helped. And so, how is it that after all this history, that more countries are lining up to get duped? It is fascinating, the power of a false prophet. But you can see this very clearly in American churches. If you think about the American church, you think about the American church, what you think about is a church with five, or they normally say three, to probably 30 something, 40 something thousand people. And a false prophet is preaching every week, and the place is packed. So that really gives you the idea how, the power of falsehood, and it is so displayed. So a few questions here that I want to explore. Is there any country that you know of that fight war? Has there any been a country that fought a war with the intention of building a grand society, or for benevolence, or for welfare? So have you ever read in the history of humanity that a country lines up against another country and they start a war, and the intention of that war was to build a grand society after the end of the war, so to speak? Or for benevolence, they say, we're going to go and we're going to attack you because we love you. We're going to attack you because we want to help the poor people amongst you. We're going to attack you because, we want to help those that are old and those that are disabled. This is what we're coming in for. So have you ever heard about this? Now, there's a possibility that there was one war fought with this intention. One neighbor looking at another neighbor and say, I'm going to attack you because I want to make sure that you have more food on your table. Does this even happen in personal? Like, have you ever seen one neighbor attacking another neighbor with the intention that they're going to benefit them? Have you ever seen somebody go into somebody's house and hold them by gunpoint and say, I'm here because I love you? It is not the concept of that, but I think the fascinating thing about that is the whole idea of a person can be duplicitous and sell the idea of democracy and freedom at a gunpoint, and people believe it. And if you do a survey right now and say, what is the aim of all these wars? I think most people in America would say, we're there to free the people and give them democracy so they can live like us. And if you say, well, has there any been a society that this worked for? Nobody can cite an example. But it's fascinating. Now, does troops or covert operators seem like the way to extend charity or power to the people? So normally, do you think about it and say, there's a nation that love other nations, and they are so happy to share their life and their freedom with others that they will use troops or covert operators to go inside a place and risk the life of their men and women to overthrow the oppressor that is there in that other country, and free the people and give the people the power to the people, or turn over charity or love. Do you have ever heard that? You see, this is the fascinating thing about it. But this is what is often sold, that you're going to send in some agents, they're going to go in, they're going to kill some people, they're going to take out the leadership, and what they're there for is because the Christian principle of everyone is created equal, and the people should have a will to have their own. They should, select how they want to live and select their own leaders and stuff like that. Do you really believe this? That this is what's going on? That this is the aim? That the people who are working in these departments, they have the love of Jesus, and they're going to overthrow countries for this reason? Because this is what is often sold. And this does not make any sense. If you meet secular people are not in the business of trying to help their fellow human beings. This is normally the Christian principle. Red Cross, ADRA, hospitals didn't come about because they came about because Christians wanted to help their fellow human beings in spite of what they were suffering. So this is a strange thing that you take secular military folks and say they're here for charity. They're here because of the love of Jesus, love of whatever. And they love these people that when they talk about them, they call them gook and chink and all that type of stuff. But yet they're there to love them. So this doesn't make any sense. Does oppressive economic embargo the method to show the intention for better to come? So do you put sanctions on countries with, and then that's the method to show somebody that better's yet to come? So we have a disagreement, and you blockade, sanction, do everything to influence other countries to not do business with another country as an intention to show that better is yet to come. I want you to think about that, because that wouldn't give me an indication if me and somebody have a dispute and I decide to defend myself by whatever means necessary. And the person said, because I don't want them to come and attack me and punch me in the face and kick me and stamp on me and, do damage to my family, they're going to make sure to tell everybody in the community not to do business with me, to block me from business, to block me from even probably using the roads, and cut me off so that my family starts starve and my kids start going without food. And then say, let's negotiate. And what I want you to do, I want you to negotiate with me, but I want you to get rid of the weapons that you have. I want you to get rid of your sword. I want you to get rid of everything that you need to use to defend me and defend yourself against the aggression. And if you don't, then I'm going to keep the blockade going. Is that sound reasonable? Because that's what basically is being asked of North Korea. Would you do it? If somebody tried to punch you and kick, and they did, there was a fight, a war, and then you start arming yourself, and the person said, well, I'm going to sanction you because you're not allowing me to beat you up. And then, but in order for me to allow you the poor people, especially your kids, to start eating, I need to get rid of those weapons that you defend yourself against my aggression. Would you do it? Because it's an honest question I have to ask myself. And I know probably if I ask, a general request out there in a regular society, they'll attack me and say I'm probably hating and stuff like that. But I'm just thinking the average person. If you go to the average person in any country and ask them, if a person attack you and you defend yourself, and then they embargo you and they block you from the community so you can't go to the store to buy, and you start to starve, but you decide, say, you're going to keep your weapon, where you're going to make more weapons to defend yourself, and you're going to try to find other means to eat. And then they say, well, okay, we welcome you back in the community, but you have to get rid of your weapons. Would you get rid of your weapons? Would you give up your weapons? I've not heard the argument for why would I personally. Now I know somebody said, well, they will be welcome back in the international community. Yeah, without their weapons. That's some scary stuff right there. Personally, but I know somebody would say, "Oh no, it's about democracy and stuff like that," and I'm like, you lost your mind. Now, history has not furnished us an example of this idea that a poor country has been helped by these methods. So history, not just our current history in the last, say, 500 years, but the total length of history has never furnished us an idea that a country that does war to extend blessings is true. That has ever happened. Never read about it. And if you've read about it, I'd like you to inform my darkness, because I've never read that you attack a country to make a grand society out of it, or to make the people better, or for benevolence or welfare. You say, man, there's so much poor people in your country. I'm going to attack you, kill all you, kill a whole bunch of you, and then I'm going to help the poor people. I've never heard it. A history I've never furnished us an example of people using covert operators or troops to extend charity to people. Again, you think about the Dark Ages with the Jesuits. Europe never got out of that slump until the Catholic Church took a hit and the Jesuits took a hit. You'd never use covert. I've never seen an example in the world history of covert operators coming in. Because if you're interested, if you want to do charity, think about what Christ says. Christ says that his disciples, they whatever they hear in private, they shut on the housetops. The Catholic covert operators, whatever they hear in private, they keep private, because they can't make their mission be known. They can't just tell you, this is what my aim is. because the aim is never to bless. The aim is to curse. You ever heard about a person who went to a Catholic church school, the school of a Catholic church, and it was not a nightmare? I mean, I don't know how they operate now, per se, but I've heard about people who went in the 60s and the 70s. As a matter of fact, I was recently talking to somebody, and he was telling me how they would kick him and punch him and slamming him against the wall and hit him and all kind of punishment, lock him in places where there was, I don't know, I can't remember if it was dead bodies and all kind of weird stuff as punishment, something like that. And I'm like, have you ever heard about a person who does that type of thing can come out and tell you what they're doing? Never. History have never furnished us an example of that. Anytime anything is done in darkness, it is always a wicked plot. Never. Look here. You never driven past a Freemason or any secret society building and see windows on the building. They don't have windows on the building because the thing that they do in darkness is shameful. It's a disgrace. They would be ashamed of it. It's a dirty shame that they're doing. And imagine now somebody who part of a secret society come to you and say, I'm here to bless. You're like, you gotta be kidding me if you believe that. You be crazy. This is somebody that does things in darkness all the time. It does not work. Does, again, oppressive embargo. Because as I said to you, you'll never do an embargo on a country or a sanction. And it's not the poor people you're hurting. You're going to kill a whole bunch of poor people. That's just what's going to happen. It's the rich people in the country never affected. Never. History have never furnished you an example where the rich people are affected. Because the rich people sell their poor compatriots, citizens out so that they don't get hit, but they avoid a hit, but the poor people get hit. Never. Think about it again, South Korea. Kim Jong-un, his father sent him to college in Europe. I think it was Holland or one of those countries, or Netherlands. Is it the same thing? Sent him over there to college. He didn't get affected. He didn't have to go to school in North Korea. He got sent away. And that's always the case with rich people and their kids. So embargoes don't work, except to oppress the poor. So history have never furnished us that. And so does the history of internally black Americans. Remember the issue that came up because, as you know, they're wrapping up, or the society is wrapping up, Black History Month. What does Black History Month furnish as an example for all people inside of America and outside of America? All it says furnish was that especially when it comes on to the Vietnam War that Martin Luther King Jr. talked about, that they had signed up a whole bunch of black Americans to go to war in Vietnam, to fight, to give the Vietnamese people freedom, to kill them and give them the freedom and their ability to have civil rights, to have freedom of choice, to have freedom of speech, to have all the rights that black Americans didn't have. And when you think about that, that gives you an idea of what we're dealing with here. So you're going to give me a gun. Are you going to ship me somewhere that I probably can't even imagine then? I can't, because they weren't even properly educated. So I probably couldn't find on a map the country Vietnam, much less to understand where am I going, who are these people, and the biggest question, what did the Vietnamese people do to black Americans? How did they hurt them? And no, I'm guaranteed up to probably this day, not one person that ever fought in that war that was black American could answer that question. How did the Vietnamese people hurt you? Why were you shooting them? None of them could answer that question. Never heard one of them answer that question. I've talked to quite a few of them. So imagine now you're in a country and you're there on the ground for the sake of your country you're shipped from, to go kill these people so that you can give them freedoms that you don't have. That has to be one of the most surreal, weird experience in the history of humanity. You're killing people to secure freedom for them that you don't have. And as my question is, can you kill people to give them these freedoms? Because I know Jesus died to give us the freedom. Jesus died so that he can save us. He didn't say, I'm going to kill you guys and then I'm I'm gonna kill you until the last man standing, and then just before I stab you in the head, you tell me, are you on freedom or not? This is not what Jesus did. Jesus says, I lay my life down for you to show you how much I love you and I want you to be free. Because sin is bondage. But in the secular world, somehow secular nations with their lost selves believe that the people who are coming here to kill us, they're here to give us freedom. And somehow this is believed the world over, that you can secure, somebody can, odds from outside of a country, not people having a civil war independent of outside influence, but somebody from outside going to come and put a bullet to your head and say, you want freedom or not? And if you said no, they pull the trigger. And that person is for your freedom. So history have not furnished us. And as I say, the anomaly in all of this talk, and I could talk about this for a while. You could talk about it for a while. I'm sure you have talked about this, hopefully, is Black Americans. Because they still have to go all over the world to this day to go secure freedom for people that they're struggling to get. Imagine you go somewhere, you put a bullet in somebody so that you can secure their freedom, and you come back to America and the police pull you over, and because you're upset that you got pulled over, they put a bullet in you and say, well, you have no freedom. This is a very weird experience. The Mexican-American War, the war in Iraq. In war in Iraq, if you remember, they put a no-fly zone, so you couldn't defend yourself from the air. And America already has air superiority. You're done. You're going to be killed. And as Iraq got that grand society that was promised them, have they been able to have that freedom that was promised them? Or is life better for them now? What's going on in Iraq? Again, history have not shown this. There is no evidence that this has ever happened. So this is weird, what we're seeing going on in the news. How about Libya? Has Libya gotten better? Last thing I heard about Libya is they're broken up into 1,000 factions, and they're fighting against each other. Slavery is happening because they're selling people into slavery. Africans into slavery. Now, how did that come about? Because was Europe and America had fought to give freedom to the Libyans so that they can have a grand society. And now what we have is slavery happening in Libya. So it has not worked. There's no evidence. And somebody say, oh, but they're free. They're not under dictatorship anymore. Now they're under 1,000 bunch of flies because this is like the lords of the flies. And they're basically swatting each other like flies. And that's what's happening. It's a no man land. And, you can't go from one ear to another without being shot. Again, as things got better. How about Syria? Syria now has gotten the result of this freedom. And how is life in Syria? All kind of monsters coming out, as the Bible talk about in Revelation chapter 9, that when you open up the abyss, all type of weird creatures like locusts and strange creatures come out of the abyss, and they just start to attack. And all that's going on is just a whole bunch, again, factions murdering each other. Central America, the history of Central America is replete, and again, particularly important for Black Americans, because the war on drugs was basically a war to give freedom to Central American, and it was funded by Black Americans. Black Americans bought the crack to support the Contra and other groups that were exporting cocaine type products to the United States at the expense of the blacks, but at the cost to get them freedom. So you sell one group out to get the other, freedom. Same thing. So just like in Vietnam, the blacks again was the pawn to basically sell them out, to basically use them to destroy them while giving somebody else freedom. This is the history. This is not any type of weird saying. This is the history of that all American should be taught in school. This is what we do to blacks. So when you look at this, again, why would any poor country think America will help them? Why would the poor in America think America would help them? Again, Caribbean, you look at the Caribbean, the nations that submit to this type of madness, what's happening to them? The economies, they're just basically slave states. Just like in the past, they're just a different type of slavery. It's just an economic slavery. They just work to pay debts to the World Bank and the IMF, which is Europe and America. Again, this is the history. So why would any poor country think that's what's happening? And you can't go no further than Africa. Africa is probably the most shining example. A city that is set on a hill can't be hid. and and it's not the African states are not a city set on a hill, but a city set in a valley. It is horrendous the history of Europe and America, what has gone on there. But I'm guaranteed if you go there, ask the Africans, hey, let me ask you this. All these people, they're here to help you or not? And they'll be like, oh, look at them. Look at Central, Congo. Congo is the best example. Look at that. There's charities everywhere. There's all these churches with their orphanage and their stuff working. And we never seem to progress, but they're here. They're here helping us. They're preaching to us and opening up orphanages because their guns have killed the men and women in our communities, and their AIDS has killed us off. So what happened? Nothing. We're just still poor. But we're probably mineral-wise, we're the richest area in the whole world. But we're poor and we have all this charity. What has happened? What has happened is that none of that charity, none of those churches have done anything. Because again, the premise that your neighbor, who is not your friend, who would even talk to you when you're inside of America, this person is going to go to a foreign country, and this person going to help you out of poverty, is ludicrous. It's so ludicrous. The person is trying to oppress you here. Why would they go to a foreign country and help you? But yet these people believe so. Somehow these people believe so. In Isaiah chapter 33, verse 14 through 17, Isaiah 33, verse 14 through 17, the Bible says, the sinners in Zion are afraid. Fearfulness hath surprised the hypocrites. Who among us shall dwell with the devouring fire? Who among us shall dwell with everlasting burning? He that walketh righteously. Notice that there. He that walketh righteously. There has to be evidence. See, it is in our Western world that we talk especially about evidence. We say, well, in the Western world, they say, at least I don't, that in order for them to believe in God, they need evidence. So this is where, for me, when I talk about history has not furnished us an example. And somebody said, but Lloyd, how about Korea, South Korea? That's an example. That's an example of you want to make sure that you punish North Korea, so you support South Korea. Anyhow, so history has not furnished an example. And so when the Bible says, oh, well, who's going to make it into heaven? Who's going to walk among the devouring fire? Who's going to be able to be with God? Say, he that walketh righteously. There has to be evidence. That speaketh uprightly. He that despiseth the gain of oppression. It's not just you don't take it, you hate it. And I tell you this day, I hate to see what's going on. It doesn't mean that there's going to be no change. But from an emotional point of view and an intellectual point of view, if you're a Christian, it don't matter what skin color you are or what people groups you're from, you ought to, because of the love of Jesus inside your heart, hate oppression and the gain of it. Because you know that what's going inside in many of these countries is not for the benefit of the poor people. It's to oppress, because history has shown us enough evidence that that's all what's going on there. That there's nobody that's going to put a bullet to your head. It is not there for armed robbery. But often because we put thousands of troops on the ground, people say, oh, it's not armed robbery. It's benevolence. It is kindness. We're helping them out. Ain't nobody going to put a gun to your head is helping you out. Never seen it. I don't know where we get this falsehood from. So the Bible says that he that despiseth the gain of oppression, he that shaketh his hands from holding bribes, no bribes, that stoppeth his ear from the hearing of blood, and shutteth his eyes from seeing evil. I don't want to see it. I don't want to be around it. Somebody said, but you just serve your country. Yeah, but not to shed blood. I'll risk my life, but I'm gonna risk somebody else's life. I'm gonna take somebody else's life. I'm gonna take somebody else's life, and I'm trying to give them freedom. I just kill them. There's no freedom when you're dead. You're dead. But there's people, I guarantee, talk to the people that you know. Ask them. Say, what do you believe? And I'm guaranteed going to tell you, oh yes, we kill them so we can give them freedom. It's a weird thinking. He shall dwell on high. His place of defense shall be the munitions of rocks. Bread shall be given him, his water shall be sure. Thine eye shall see the king in his beauty. They shall behold the land that is very far off, somewhere up there in the Orion belt, way out. Can't get there unless Jesus takes you there. These are those that are going to be saved. And this is why the majority, as the Bible says, are always lost. This is why it was only 8 people that went on the ark. But this is where the concept of love of country and love of Jesus clashes. Because most of the time, what we talk about as country are not countries that are doing right. But people say, I love the country, and they love the country to a point where they even join in the oppression of the poor. This is not right. So I have a quick article I want to share with you. You're probably well familiar with this article, but I'll share it just as a backdrop, just to give you an example of what is happening on the ground and why, I don't know why, poor countries believe that somebody who wouldn't even talk to you would want to come and help you. It's just it's fascinating. Anyhow, this is an article taken from MiamiHerald.com, MiamiHerald.com, and it's entitled Americans Arrested in Haiti with Arsenal of Guns Won't Face U.S. Charges. So 5 heavily armed Americans arrested in Haiti earlier this week are back on their home soil and won't face any criminal charges in the United States, a decision already causing outrage among some Haitian leaders. Federal sources told the Miami Herald that the men will not be charged criminally, but are being debriefed. They told U.S. authorities they were on the island providing private security for a businessman doing work with the Haitian government. The 5 American citizens who returned on a commercial flight to Miami on Wednesday night and were met by U.S. law enforcement did not have any scheduled appearance in Miami federal court. The U.S. Attorney Office referred calls to the State Department, which said only the return of the individuals of the U.S. was coordinated with the Haitian authorities. What promises the U.S. government made to secure the release of the men remain murky. Oh, and I might say this to you, and the article pointed out that there's, for the whole month of February, there have been a lot of protests in Haiti because of corruption with the current government that is really put in place by the American government. So the corruption, and they've lost over $2 billion that is connected with Venezuela and the subsidized oil that Venezuela was selling to Haiti. The money was stolen, and so they're protesting. And so in the midst of all these protests, these Americans were down there on a mission. Keep going. The U.S. Attorney Office referred calls to the State Department. According to a letter obtained by the Miami Herald, Haitian Minister of Justice Jean Rodi Ali wrote to Haiti's Central Bureau of the Judicial Police saying he authorized the transfer of the 5 Americans and 2 U.S. permanent residents to the United States to stand trial there. I want to inform you that I've authorized a procedure of transfer to United States of America of American citizens and United States permanent residents, a total of 7, to respond to the charges of transporting legal arms from the United States through the Haitian territory, the letter stated. So I'll pause there again. So they illegally transported arms, and when they came back to America, they were released. No charges were put against them. But the agreement, according to this person, is that they were sent back to America to face charges of illegally transporting weapons. Ali is aligned, this is the person that was writing the letter, is aligned with the beleaguered Haitian president Jovenel Moïse, who advisors tried to get the men removed from custody of the country's police. Moïse has been under fire for his handling of the poverty-stricken nation's economy. Violent protest calling for his ouster has rocked Haiti in recent weeks. Pierre Esperance, executive director of the National Human Rights Defense Network in Haiti, blasted the decision by U.S. authorities not to charge the men. Quote, what the Haitian government did is grave. It shows that they have something they were looking for. The fact that the U.S. took these men and did not charge them, it shows there was a conspiracy. They didn't want them to go before the Haitian justice, he told the Miami Herald. The release of the men from the Haitian justice system is causing a political uproar in Haiti, a country already in upheavals. On Thursday, the Haitian Senate summoned the government's Security Council, headed by Haitian Prime Minister Jean-Henri Sient, to answer questions about who authorized the release of the 5 Americans and 2 Serbians. The Prime Minister said he wasn't available and the meeting has been postponed for 11 a.m. Monday, said Senator Yuri Latour II, head of the Senate's Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission. I saw the Justice Minister and he said there was no way they could be free. The Attorney General said there was no way they could be freed. So we thought they weren't going to be free then. The Prime Minister said he doesn't know anything. The President said he doesn't know anything. Sient said, the men plan to break into the central bank and then to assassinate Saint Latour, added. So they're claiming here that the aim, I don't know if it's going to say in this article because there's multiple articles, but when the men were arrested, there was about 8 men, 1 Asian, 2 from the country that they mentioned earlier, and then 5 Americans. So when these 8 men were arrested, 7 of them were from America. They were arrested near the central bank. They were surveilling the central bank of Haiti, heavily harmed. And then they couldn't explain exactly what they were doing there. But there was, I think, a curfew in place and a checkpoint, and they get caught at a checkpoint. And then that's what happened. So we continue. We were waiting for the Prime Minister, Minister of Justice, and Minister of Interior to tell us what happened to, and to bring a copy of the letter from the U.S. Embassy. And after that, we will know what we will do, he added. Latour too added that he also awaiting a report from the police investigation and questioning of the suspect. The incident couldn't have come at a worse time in Haiti after several days of calm following anti-government protests that shut down the country. For 10 days, the opposition has called for protests to resume Friday. Late Thursday, lines began to form at gas station as nervous Haitians try to fill up in an anticipation for the protest that has shut down schools, businesses, and all activities in the capital and major cities around Haiti. As a result of the crisis, both cities of Port-au-Prince and Croix-de-Baquet this week announced they were canceling their carnival next month. Protests and opposition have been calling for the resignation of Moist over mismanagement of the country's economy and corruption allegations centered about Venezuela's Petrocarib oil discount program. Haiti owes the South American country about $2 billion, and Haitians have been demanding an accounting of the money. Saving accruing from the discount program were supposed to be invested in social programs for the poor after the country's 2010 earthquake. Prominent commentators and during his editorial radio, Kishkeya Port-au-Prince said the U.S. government decision to circumvent the Haitian justice system is ugly, worse than a slap in the face. It's a bad and is regrettable to see we have authorities like this in the country. The Haitian National Police detained 5 men who were part of a group of 8 stopped at a checkpoint in downtown Port-au-Prince last Sunday afternoon. The men were in two vehicles without license plate. The police found a cache of automatic rifles and pistols. The 8 were arrested on weapons charges. Police sources originally cited a list as part of evidence that included documents, satellite phones, drones, but later told the Herald that that list, which cited the names of 2 police officials, did not belong to the suspect and were documents that got commingled with the evidence they found inside the unmarked vehicle. The American, a former Navy SEAL, Christopher Michael Usman, and Christopher Mark McKinley, and Marine veteran Kent Leland Croiker, as well as Talon Ray Burton and Dustin Port. Burton is a private investigator once employed by Blackwater Security, that was run by this guy called Prince, which I think is the brother of Davis, Betsy Davis, I think, something like that, something along that line. I can't remember exactly. And the State Department Diplomatic Security Service, his wife said she had no idea that he was in Haiti until she received a phone call from him saying he was in prison in Port-au-Prince. McKinley Twitter profile went silent after Valentine's Day. The group was arrested in February 17. The others were 2 Serbians, at least one of whom is a U.S. permanent resident, and an Asian national who was deported from the United States. The Serbians were scheduled to arrive back in Washington, D.C. on Thursday. According to the Haitian police, the men claimed they were on a government mission when they were pulled over about a block away from the National Central Bank. The U.S. government intervened after Sent, speaking on CNN, called the group mercenaries and terrorists. The men were taken to the airport in Port-au-Prince in shackles, according to the Haitian sources, but American airline refused to allow them on the flight in chains. The men were allowed to fly without the shackles and even awaiting in a VIP diplomatic salon before the board in the American flight 1059. American Airlines said the prohibition of shackles on passengers is not airline policy but requirement for all U.S. carriers and law enforcement personnel. When the plane landed in Miami International Airport, U.S. law enforcement boarded the flight and handcuffed the men, according to the tweet in the article. So I wanted to share the article in its entirety because I wanted to use that as a demonstration of what's going on here. Not what's going on with that particular event, but it's this idea here of why would any poor country think that America will help them is beside me. Because if you follow what was going on in Port-au-Prince or in Haiti, what you quickly realize is that since Haiti was the first country to try to overthrow, and did overthrow, the colonial master, which was at the time Napoleon. And then when France outmaneuvered Toussaint Louverture, hopefully I'm saying that right, the guy that led the overthrow of France, Haiti has been in a bad situation ever since. They have never recovered. And the main protagonist that have kept them that way is United States of America. And interesting enough, United States of America has been supporting dictator and failed governments and instituting puppet governments, year in, year out. Not year in, year out, but every few years. So this is what's been going on. And the current, I guess, king and queen of Haiti is now the Clintons. And they have managed that place in a terrible way. And there have been so much allegations of corruption and money being stolen from the Haitian people and mismanagement. Even some of their own people that are famous have been bridled in scandal. One of their famous sons, who is, I think, he's a he's a member of the group Fuji, or when the refugees or Fugees used to be a music group. Even he's embroiled in scandal. It's like people go there to steal, no matter if they're Haitians or they're Americans. So Haiti's been a good example of this. That here you have these outside help. They're not converted. They're not coming to sacrifice their all to save these people. You have all these church groups there. You have the Catholic Church as the most powerful church there. You have Voodoo there. That's probably the second most powerful or the first most powerful church there. And yet the people have not been brought out. Because the Christian principle, I don't see being displayed. Because all I see displayed is that people go into a poor country to take an advantage, get an opportunity. And that's where the problem to me with as I say, history of not furnished. We don't see any furnishing of an history that secular nations do covert attempts, set up puppet government, set up draconian and oppressive financial deals to help other poor countries. What we see happening is humanity at its best with its corruption, and wherever somebody can get an opportunity to take advantage of the poor, the weak, we see that's what's really happened. We see that the true principle of humanity, it is not to help your brother. It is the survival of the fittest, and that the king of the jungle eats the weak. They eat those that can prey upon. And don't believe that because something is the king of the jungle, that it does not live by the king of the jungle principles. And don't believe that they're living by the Christian principles. At heart, most people are predatorial. They prey on the weak, the sick, the less fortunate. They're like a lion or a tiger. They go after the babes, the suckling. Christ teaches us as Christians that we help the children. We protect the children. As a good example, as I say, if you look in the Catholic Church, you saw that the priests were there to prey on women and kids. So this is the philosophy. It's a secular philosophy. People talk about evolution, but evolution is not per se the true philosophy of life. It's just humanity in its darkness. The more dark we are, is the more we prey on the weak. And all that you see going on here is a prayer on the weak. You go after a country, you say, I'm going to put you on embargo so you're starving, then I'm going to negotiate with you. Well, have you ever been hungry? You're weak. You're like, man, as the Bible says, to those who are hungry, everything tastes good. And so, yeah, I'm starving you. And then I'm going to negotiate with you. What's your position? And then if I win the negotiation and you submit to my oppressive system that I'm bargaining with you, then I say I won the negotiation. But is that winning? That's not winning. And this is why we need Christian integrity, that we must be willing to starve to death and to go along with evildoers. Because that's all evildoers do. People will prick you. They'll take a pin and they stick you in your back. And then when you scream and get upset with them, they say, oh man, why are you mad? Be a Christian. And when you live around people who do that type of stuff, they're masters at this. And so you got to be wise. Wise yourself up. You don't believe in this type of stuff. This stuff is for fools and people who are tricked. In no country that has been helped in this way. The IMF or the World Bank is not there to give fair loans. It's there to give usury. It's there to oppress foreign countries. You've never been to a nation that when they go in and they give loans, the stipulations of the loans will be there's going to be no serious investment in schools, no serious investments in roads, no serious investment in hospital. In other words, no infrastructure and educational investments. So you keep people ignorant and they're starving. And when people are ignorant and starving, their options are limited. And they're going to always negotiate against themselves. This is why the American corporations always like to go to foreign countries that are very poor. Because what they can do, they can go in there and they can negotiate 10 cents an hour. And somebody say, how could they do that? Because the people are starving. They have a choice between living on 1 cent an hour or 10 cents an hour. What are they going to take? They're going to take the 10 cents. Are they going to be just above starving? Yeah. They're going to be able to eat some denatured foods and just stay alive. And everybody's going to come and say, hey, the stock market is soaring. We're making phenomenal profits. We can pay out hundreds of millions of dollars worth of, incentives or bonuses at the end of the year. So couldn't you give those people 25 cents an hour? So that's not the way to go. So that's what I'm saying. History have not furnished an example that people who wouldn't even talk to you on the street, who wouldn't even talk to you if you go to church with them, that they will go to, say, Haiti, or they will go to Congo, or they will go to anywhere in the world and they're going to help them. How are they going to help them and they can't even talk to me? They won't even say hi to me. That is a fallacy if you have ever heard one. And that's why you have to be careful. As I say, if your neighbor does not talk to you, why do you believe a neighbor, if he comes to you, he's really looking out for you? And if your neighbor do economic embargo and try to attack you, and you have to buy weapons to protect yourself against your neighbor, and your neighbor said, let's negotiate. What are you negotiating? The only negotiation is that your neighbor who has attacked you, you have to defend yourself, and then you have to get weaponry to protect yourself against that neighbor. The only negotiation should be that he should disarm himself, you keep your weapons, and that's the only negotiation. First, he needs to denuclearize, and then now we can do business. Other than that, what's the negotiation? Or the negotiation should be, well, both of us denuclearize, and then you lift all embargoes, and then we can sit as equals. But you see, nobody want to sit as equals at the table. I want to have the upper hand on you, and you want to have the upper hand on me. But it makes no sense. There should not be a negotiation where I have to need denuclearization. Why should I have to get rid of my nukes? Everybody should get rid of their nukes. And then we could just fight fist to fist, and then let's see, make the best man win. But if I should take care of my nukes, you still have your nukes. Why? I don't understand why. You tell me why. You know why? Because I don't know why. I can't get this. It is not the rich in these countries, as I said, that suffer. It is always the poor. Think about all the leaders in Haiti that are they're definitely friends with the Clintons. They're not hungry. There is not them that is in the street protesting. As you know, lawyers never protest. Why would lawyers protest? That would be most of the Congress would be protesting, and the Senate. Why would they protest? It is ridiculous. They sign a law. If things go bad, they just write a new law. Think about it. You never see billionaires in the street protest. Why are they going to protest? What happened a year and a half ago? 2 years ago, a billionaire win the election, and the first thing they did is they wrote a new tax code to give a bailout to rich people. That's why they don't protest. Who protests? Poor people, because they're feeling the brunt of whatever happened. So that's why they protest. And if you could understand that, you know what's going on. It's rich people kids that rich people don't say kids don't go to the military. It's poor people kids. Now there's some rich people that the kids will go to the military because they went to West Point and they go in as officers. But who is the cannon fodder? It's the poor people kids. They're the ones fighting for America. Who they're fighting for? The rich corporate leaders of America. So they're the ones going there and sacrificing something. The rich people ain't sacrificing nothing. And that's what it is. The rich people are going to say, I'm going to go to my doctor. My doctor is going to sign a paper, say I have bone spurs. And I stay to the military. But then you tell the black kids who don't have civil rights, you send them from the ghetto to Vietnam to kill Vietnamese so that they can get their freedom. And then you say they're true patriotic American. No, if you really, to me, I would say a just war would be that the senators and the Congress people and the old rich people, they go fight the war. If they're willing to fight the war, it's a just war. If they're so much into it, let them go fight the war. Let them go give freedom to poor people in Haiti. Let them go down there. So if you notice that article I just read, because I didn't even talk about it because I think the article talk for itself, but I say something about it. That article, notice it's go look at the article. True-blooded Americans, people who red, white, and blue flow through their veins. Their veins doesn't flow with blood. It's not red or it's not blue. It's red, white, and blue. True Americans went to Haiti to help the Haitian people after after their leaders have stole $2 billion. I guarantee that $2 billion that were stolen is not in Haiti. It's in Europe and France. Those men went down there. If I ask you, you think they were there to help the Asian people? Because I don't think. Have you met one of those men that you said, this person loved people, they love the poor? Have you met one of them that said, this guy is a real deal. He will lay his life down just like Jesus for the poor. And he goes now, leave America after all his benevolence, stop helping the poor and the people on drugs in America. And he went down there in full armament with automatic weapons and hand pistols and knife and stuff. You could see the cache of weapons they had. And he went to Haiti to go to the central bank. And these guys went down there because they want to uplift the Asian people. They want them to do better. They want to give them roses and they want to love them. They went down there in a mission of love. Can you say that? Are those men doing that? Has this been a history of covert operation where they're driving in two vehicles with no license plate? And they never announced to the Asian people that we're here to give you blessings. Where have you heard a covert operation been done? And these people can say, I'm doing this covert operation and I'm here on a mission of love. And this is why I ask those questions. Why would any poor country think that the Clintons or any of those people who claim, because there's no evidence of that they really uplift any poor people in America, that they're there to help them? Why would these men from Serbia, have you ever heard about Serbia being furnished as military people that go on mission of love? They're missionaries or are they mercenaries? Because that's the big question. Were these men missionaries or mercenaries? Can you see any evidence that these men went down there to make Haiti better? Did they go down there to give welfare to the Haitian people, to give benevolence? Did they go there on a covert operation to bring charity and to bring power to the poor people that are protesting in the streets? Any of these men went down there to make Haiti a better place for Haitians. Do you know of these people that is their mission and that's their business? Their business is when they come, poor people celebrate. When they come, there'll be no dead bodies, but people will have healing. See, when I read about Jesus Christ, when he came, he was healing the people. He was casting out demons. He was feeding the poor. He was preaching the gospel to them. That was a mission that was announced. He came and said, hey, this is what I'm here to do. There was no covert operation. But these men, that's not what they were doing. They were there with red, white, and blue flowing through their veins to give historically what they've been always given. I don't know why you always have these traders in these countries that will sell out the country and their own people because they're greedy. And that's what needs to happen. These people need to rise up against their traitors. Now, in Exodus 22, verse 21 through 24, we read, thou shalt not vex a stranger nor oppress him. For you were strangers in the land of Egypt. You shall not afflict any widow or fatherless. If thou afflict them in any wise, and they cried at all unto me, I will surely hear their cry, and my wrath shall wax hot, and I will kill you with the sword, and your wives shall be widows, and your children fatherless. And so we don't want to be part of this. We want to be part of a blessing to the society. We want to be part of those who are hurting our fellow human beings and saying we're doing this to extend the power of the United States. You don't kill people to give them freedom. You give them the truth, and that was what's going to make the people free. You bless the people, but there's no blessing coming these people. These actions from these covert operators is to harm people. The Bible says in Proverbs 21 verse 13, I'll close with this thought. Whoso stoppeth his hair at the cry of the poor, he also shall cry himself, but shall not be heard. We don't want to stop our ears to the suffering of these people because we're living and we're not suffering. And we need to know what our fellow citizens are doing to harm people across the world. And we need to speak out in public and to them personally that these type of evil, they need to stop it because they're just causing harm and pain and suffering to people that they would not like anybody to do to their family members. But yet, they think it's a joke to go into these countries and murder these people, saying that they give them freedom. It's a lie, and these people are not true to the Constitution. They're not true to the American flag. They're not true to the American people. They're just bloody men that are going abroad, killing people, and saying that they're going there to extend freedom. This is falsehood, and this type of thing should not be tolerated by the American people. Those 5 men, including the Serbians, should be arrested and face charges for carrying out or attempting to carry out a mission to harm the Haitian people and embarrass the American public. And they should be tried for all this type of weaponry that they brought in the country to sow more mayhem and chaos in a country that is already have enough mayhem and chaos and enough evildoers in that country. They don't need no more evildoers from America. This is what I believe. Let's pray. Our Father who art in heaven, I thank you for your blessings in our lives. Thank you for the blessings of your word. I thank you for blessings for Jesus that taught us the way to live, to bless and not curse. May we live by this, we pray. For Christ's sake, amen. Thanks for being with me here on Revive Reform Radio. Looking forward to talking to you again live tomorrow morning, where we should talk about wisdom for living. Until then, I pray that you may continue to walk with the King.